It's all over. It's all over. I'm just trying to chant that when you know those games, basketball games, when the game is over, Chase Bank is over. Chase Bank is dead. And in today's video, I'm going to talk exactly why that is, how we got here, why we got here. I'm going to try to provide as much information as I can, but there might be some ranting in this video. I know it's been a while. I've just been super busy, but let's get right into it. So, Chase Bank. I am going to say I was one of the first, I'm going to say the loudest, probably one of the loudest on YouTube, mainly because I'm not really too much on Instagram. Really, really, really preaching. You need to get Chase. You need to get Chase. You need to get Chase. And the reason I was always preaching you need to get Chase is very simply, they have the best of both worlds. They have high limits on the personal and the business. They have great rewards on the personal and the business, right? So you get the best of both worlds, right? If you like to travel, the way you can use these points to get travel basically for free, that's great. Then you get the high limits, and then on the business side specifically, Chase was the only bank and is the only bank that I'm aware of. Unless you guys know of another bank, let me know in the comments. Um, that you can get up to 150,000 on one card. I've seen it all the way up to 120. I've never seen one card at 150 from an instant approval. I've seen 120 instant approval with Chase, 100K, 60, 75K, 50K. So the only way these people were getting these approvals, the only way you're able to get these approvals, I should say, is I've gotten these approval for my clients, is that you go through what's called a BRM, Business Relationship Manager, right? So let me give you guys a brief history lesson. So if you don't know what a business relationship manager, I'm going to tailor it to Chase. Maybe other banks have qualifications, but more specifically with Chase, a business relationship manager, generally speaking, only deals with private clients. What is a private client? Private client, someone who generates $1 million a year in business, uh, has $1 million business, $1 million plus business. They get access to this business relationship manager, and the benefits with a business relationship manager is a ton of benefits. They basically they are trying to get you business products, right? They want to keep you as a customer, and they want to get you these business product, business credit cards, business lines of credit, whatever the case is, right? They want to help you in your business, right? So you get business BRMs deal with uh, private clients. However, so what started to happen was, and this was the problem when a lot of the information gets out to the masses. Right? I was preaching always, and I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm just saying I was one of the loudest, especially on YouTube. Um, you need to get Chase and to get because you can get up to 150K, you can get 50, 60, 75K approvals, instant approvals with a business relationship manager. But the problem with that is um, there's going to be like if it gets out to 20,000 people, there's going to be a small batch of people who are bad apples and ruin it for the rest of us, right? So what happened was prior to like this was years ago, funding companies, what they did was they went straight to the plug. They went to a business relationship manager. They incentivized these business relationship managers either with, hey, you can get your own commission on the back end, you can get a back end fee, right? Typically 10% what these funding companies charge, but whatever that, sometimes not all of them. I'm not saying all business relationship managers were doing this, but some were getting a back end commission fee themselves, even though they get commissions for bringing business to Chase. Um, they were doing that, and or the funding company would say, "Hey, I'm going to bring you a ton of business. I'm going to bring you a ton of applications. That's going to bring business to Chase, and that they'll get incentivized to bring on new clients, right? So how it works is a business relationship manager can submit an application through DocuSign, right? And again, Chase maybe there's some other apps, maybe there's some other banks that allow this, but Chase was the only one that I was aware of that allows you to do a DocuSign application, and you get to request your credit limit. Let me say that again. You get to request a credit limit. When you submit an application online with any bank for a credit card, you get an instant approval within 30 to 60 seconds. It's the algorithm. And again, quick rant for the people who used to say, oh, do it after 5 p.m. or midnight. It's the algorithm. There's no hack, right? You submit an application, The algorithm checks your scores and then determine how much you can get approved for, if you denied, if you're approved, how much, et cetera, if they need more information, right? With a business relationship manager, you do it through DocuSign. You get the request, hey, I want a 50K limit. Another added benefit with a business relationship manager, they get to add additional notes to the application on your behalf to make a case on why you deserve or why you should get a 50, 60, 75K approval on a credit card. All right. And then on top of that, not all the times it can work, but they'll try to, if you get denied, they'll try to work on your behalf to get the application reconsidered because they have access to an underwriter directly. They submit the application directly with the underwriter. It's not algorithm, right? So they'll look at the notes, they'll see your credit score, they'll determine. I've had this happen where a client got denied and they were reconsidered and got a 25K approval, right? Normally they would have just got denied. Had they not had certain things on the report, they would have got 50K approval, right? So those are the benefits of having a business relationship manager because they can tell a story on your behalf to get you approved. All right. The problem is that funding companies were sending clients to Chase. I'm not even going to blame the funding companies. I'm going to blame the people who took the credit and defaulted. I'm going to blame the people, the bad apples, right? If 10,000 people get access to this information or get access to this type of plug, right? And then there's a few hundred or a few thousand that ruin it for the rest of us, right? That's why sometimes I'll hold off on sharing information, even though I give out 99% of the information on my YouTube channel. I give out a lot of free game that you can implement, but sometimes I'll decide to hold back certain plays or certain strategies because if I lend it out to the masses, I know for a fact there's going to be a small percentage who are going to ruin it, burn the bridge, default. So what started to happen with Chase, let's get back to Chase. So what started happening with Chase, all these applications, people were getting 50, 60, 75K approvals. But then they started to default. They started to default for years. This has been going on for a long time. The highest defaults in Chase for a while. They've been defaulted for the last couple of years. Then they started to also, when people giving out free game, hey, use this code, use this next code, you're gonna get higher approvals. You burn that bridge too. Why? Because you're defaulting. Because the people were defaulting under that code, and they weren't. They were just running off, burning that bridge, and then over time, Chase started to catch on. So started. I meant to. By the way, I knew about this 3 months before it happened, that it was going to happen. I am in the trenches as far as I know a lot of people, a lot of funding companies. I'm good friends with a lot of them. I know one particular funding company does like 50, 60 apps a month. And I knew about this about 3 months ago. I know I'm a little late. I've just been busy. But as of July 1st, what's Chase doing? No more DocuSign apps. You have to do it in branch. You won't get access to a business relationship manager unless your business is generating $1 million a year. Let me say that again. Now, another thing is with a with a BRM, you didn't have to have $1 million business. Let me say that again. With a business relationship manager prior to the changes, you didn't have to have a business generating $1 million plus. So now what they're doing is you have to do in branch. You have to submit an application. If you want to get access to a BRM, you have to have a business generating $1 million plus. And then there's some other ways that you can buy. There's always loopholes, right? Especially when you have such notice on what's going to happen. So I knew about this 3 months ago that it was going to happen July 1st. So there's already strategies that you can do to still get high approvals with Chase. You're not getting a 75K approval no more. So if someone's posting that, that's cap, because all the rules they implemented, you have to do it in branch, and you have the real business generating revenue, and or a certain amount of money in your bank account for a certain period of time as well. I'm not even going to give you those data points because then you'll try to ruin that too, right? So all in all, what happened was too many apps were getting defaulted, too many delinquencies. So Chase started to catch on, and they said no more DocuSign apps. You have to do it a branch, or you could just apply online, but you have to do it in branch. or have $1 million plus business. If you want those 50, 60, 75K approvals, that's the only way to do it. So it's frustrating because people give out. There's people that are good people, and they do right with the money. They pay on time. They get the money. They actually use it for what they said they were going to use it to grow their business, etc., or fix and flip, whatever the case is. But then there's a small group of people who ruin it for the best of us. I do have look, me talking about not giving information out to the masses, but this bank I don't really care about. But I am aware of a bank right now that's you can get up to 50K on a business side. If I get 50 likes and I get 50 comments saying 50K in the comments down below, I'll post the bank in the comments. But I need at least 50 likes on the video and 50K in the comments to get access to this bank that can go all the way up to 50K. That's my time. My name's Toby Rosario. Peace.